Spirit. Some people hear it, some people fear it. Spirit. Some people just won't go near it. As sure as I'm on and the skies are blue, the Ghostbusters are back and all brand new. Well, maybe not brand new. More like 25 years old, because today we are playing a thing from 1990, Ghostbusters for the Sega Genesis. This is my personal favorite video game adaptation of The Jumpsuited Gentleman, despite the conspicuous lack of Winston. Feel free to observe whatever unfortunate implications you might. I like to think that this game falls somewhere on the timeline between the movies and the 2009 Ghostbusters game, which would place Dr. Zedmore off working on his doctorate. Speaking of the 2009 game, I'm sure many would consider that the definitive interactive adaptation, which is entirely understandable. For my money, while I don't think there's any questioning the quality of its fan service and production values, I didn't really care for the mechanics of that one, whereas this is just a solid old-school platformer, which is the kind of thing I'd much rather play. Of course, that's just me. You do you. Just one more notable bit of detail. Though they are not clearly credited, this game was developed for Sega by Compile, who also gave us our previously played things, Golvelius and Musha. With that kind of talent at the helm, I'd say it's no surprise this one turned out pretty well. Alright then, friends, let us commence the bustin'. I hope it makes you feel good. Sega. Ah, the Ghostbusters theme and glorious Z80 sound. We'll see in a moment that the original Activision Ghostbusters game is credited in this one. I'm not sure why. My best guess is that Activision had some kind of exclusive deal to make Ghostbusters video games, and so Sega had to get permission from them to do this one. In any case, I'm glad it happened because, as I've mentioned, I am very fond of this game. So we'll have a look at our options, which are very minimal here, just a sound test and a difficulty setting. We'll leave it on normal as usual. And when we begin the game proper, we get our choice of Buster. Dr. Venkman is the all-rounder, as is fairly typical of main characters, and Egon is zippy but has less health. Now, all the characters are nice and viable. It's really not too big of a trial to finish the game with any of them. But the most valuable thing I would say is survivability, and for that we must go with the heart of the Ghostbusters, the hometown hero, Dr. Ray Stantz. I do hate disappointing Pete and Egon, though. They're so sad. Recently there's been a lot of ghostly activity happening here and there. I wonder if the earthquake we had yesterday had anything to do with it. If so, hey, thank you, earthquake. We'll be busy again. Yeah, we'll have work. Hello, help me, Ghostbusters! Ghosts have appeared in my home! Rather mercenary attitude by the boys, but fair enough. Now, we have 6 total levels in this game, but the first 4 can be done in any order. Starting from the lower right, their difficulty roughly increases clockwise, but you can do them in any order you want. But we will begin with the easiest level, Home Sweet Home. The tables move by themselves and the shelves fly around in the house. I'm so afraid I can't sleep at night. I'm begging you, please help. I've just about got all you said. Don't worry, leave it up to the Ghostbusters. Alright, Ghostbusters, let's get out of here and take care of business. There we see Middle Ghost, which refers to the mid-bosses. Every level has between 1 and 4, and they must all be defeated before you can fight the main boss and finish the level. Here we have our standard weapon, which has limited range, but fires at a pretty decent rate. You can shoot in 5 directions, left, right, up, and the upper diagonals. There is never a time that you can shoot down, though. Here's just our idle animation. Now, you can leave the level and go to the shops at any time. Please get rid of the ghosts. When you leave the level, you will get paid for any middle ghosts you defeated, and then you can go spend your money in the shops. We'll take a look at those. So, you're the famous Ghostbusters. I'm glad you came by. Look at this great equipment. The item shop here is really weird because it sells a mixture of Chinese food, night vision, and high explosives. Anyway, the gyoza is an on-the-spot health restore. You just buy that and it fills up your life so you can go back into the level topped out. Peking duck is your portable health restoration. You can take that with you, use it anytime you want in the level. Infrared scope allows you to see in one dark level. It's really only useful in that level, but you really need it there. And the bomb, a plain explosive with no special characteristics. Why it's being sold out of a Chinese restaurant, I could not begin to tell you. I don't use bombs very much. I don't find them terribly useful, and they don't do enough damage for having to spend on them. And the weapon shop, we've come to the right place. They've built weapons to fight ghosts for 200 years and made all these tools with pride. Thank you, Dr. Einstein. Now, most of these are just replacement weapons. Most of them I don't find very useful, but the phaser shell is the tits of the weapon system in this game. That's our big boss killer, and I will be picking it up as soon as possible. I would like to buy that, but sadly I can't afford it right now. The energy tank. You just buy those and they get increasingly expensive, but they give you more energy to use to power your weapons and defensive items. The special suit will also be getting as soon as possible. That is basically just your key defensive item in this game. When you have it equipped, your energy gradually drains, but you take less damage. And the barrier is extremely defensive, but as Dr. Einstein says, it takes up a lot of energy. It just sucks the energy out of you in no time, and we can't wait 30 years for that. And we probably won't have 35 grand to blow anytime soon, so we'll pass on that one. We will be back, thank you. But for now, it's time to head on back into the level and do us some bustin'. I remember seeing this in EGM and some of the other big game magazines back in the day, and I was pretty hyped for it. By the way, we have a mini-map in the upper right that shows where we've been. Once we've defeated all the mini-bosses, it will show you where the location of the main boss is. But yeah, I was really looking forward to this one. The blue guy there can't do anything to hurt you, and he can in fact be helpful. You just jump up on his noggin and it will propel you high in the air. Yeah, I was kind of cautiously hopeful about this game seeing it in the magazines, because the graphics looked really nice for the time, and the monster designs were kind of cool. But, you know, even at that tender age, I was very suspicious of licensed properties as being something of a crapshoot, and so I was really happy when it came out and turned out to be about as good as it looked. Yeah, this was one of the first Genesis games I was really hyped for just looking at the advanced press. And some of the chandeliers there will drop candles on you, as you just saw. Some of them will just fall on you, as video game chandeliers will do. When you see Slimer like so, you'll want to pop him, and then he will either drop a blue drop of life, or an orange drop of energy. I think the game tends to give you what you need the most, but I'm not entirely sure about that, and there does seem to be some degree of randomization to it. Blowing open safes tends to reveal either a money bag or a bomb. You will want to avoid the bomb because it's not one you can pick up, it just hurts you. It doesn't seem entirely cricket for the Ghostbusters to be looting the safes of the people whose houses they're cleaning out, but again, we've seen a rather mercenary attitude from the lads, so well, whatever. And as you've probably noticed, you can crouch down and move while ducking in a sort of crawl animation. The nifty thing about that is while you are crawling, you will not turn around, you will just crawl backwards, so that can be used for moving back and forth while shooting in the same direction. I also like the way Ray grabs his ass every time he gets hurt. Encounter. That means we have found a mini-boss, and there's this fine Uncle Pennybags looking chap. Our real enemy here, however, is the Chihuahua looking thing that comes out of his hat, which we have to shoot in the head. I'm trying to bait out his other attack here, in which his lower body comes off, because it's just kind of a ball that walks on its own, and I've always found that kind of amusing. There's nothing we can do to harm the headless gentleman here. There it is. His lower body's just a sphere. And I got hit there because I completely forgot that the ball doesn't go back to him, the body goes to it. But yeah, he doesn't use that attack very often. It's actually very surprising that he's used it 3 times in a row here. Usually seems to have a pretty low chance of happening. But even if we're behind and the Chihuahua is facing the wrong way, we can still use our diagonal shot to pop it in the noggin. And we can shoot down its projectiles, which is also very handy. After a certain amount of damage, the gentleman will disappear and the Chihuahua will lose his head, and we now have to destroy both parts. It's a little easier, I think, to start with the head, because the cutlery will block your shots, making the lower body a little harder to deal with. There we see one of the bombs in action. So you'll want to try and aim for the ghostly tail there. Anyway, whenever you defeat a mid-boss, a ghost here will pop out, and because of the frame rate you can't really see my proton pack laser. But that part works a little bit like a fishing game. You kind of want to reel the ghost in toward the trap when it is not pulling hard on the proton beam. And if you successfully catch the ghost, as you saw, you will get a little bit of health back. But if you take too long or screw up too many times and miss the trap, it will escape. And now we can see the main boss on the map. It's just to our left here, and we can now get into that room. Just like the first mid-boss, the first main boss is pretty easy. We had a little dialogue with each level boss. What are you up to? You woke me up just when I was sleeping good. Bad grammar. I mean when I'm tired. So this scaly-bodied thing, it turns out, is mostly scales. So as you have the scales lodged at you, its body will be gradually revealed as a skinny, twiggy little thing, and that's where you will shoot to damage it. And the crawling sort of strafe thing is very useful here. You can just duck down, which makes it a little easier to avoid the scales, and allows you to keep shooting at the boss as you dodge. Not a lot of health, doesn't take too long to bring down. But when its head floats off toward heaven, its eyes will soon fall, and they will damage you if they hit you. It would be very embarrassing to get killed by the eyeballs if you have low health at this point. Alright, we pick up that whatever, and our life and health, or our life and energy are refilled. And ghost cops have busted 15th Street Spook. You're welcome very much. And $1,000 for the mid-boss and $2,000 for the level is a very respectable token of gratitude indeed. Haha, did you see that power? If a ghost tangles with me, it'll be his last mistake. We've got some money, so let's party! Strange, you know, when I took out that ghost, this stone appeared. Looks like a piece of a stone tablet. It looks like it's really old. There's some letters inscribed on it. Well, I think there's a way we can read it. It'll just take a little time. It's time to get back to work. We've got clients waiting. Let's get to it, Ghostbusters. Unfortunately, we don't have enough money to party with very well. So, yeah, the things I really want here, the phaser shell and the barrier, or not the barrier, but the whatchamacallit, the shield thing. Those are $5,000 a pop, which is more than we have right now. So we'll need to get back to business. I like to have the phaser shell for the bosses of the apartment and the high-rise, so I'm going to buy up some infrared here, which we will need for the Woody House. I don't really need a special weapon for the bosses there, so we'll just do that next so we can save up readily for our phaser shell and defensive suit. Part of my house burst into flames. My wife was seriously hurt and had to go into the hospital. Besides that, the flames couldn't be put out with water. There's no mistake about it. It's the work of a ghost. I'm asking you all, please, to save my home and family. And Ray will give him the standard response. And indeed, let's take care of business. We've got 2 mid-bosses this time. And as you can see, visibility is very limited here, and that is where the infrared comes in. I like to bring a full supply of goggles here because it's really unpleasant to be caught without, but there's no way we're going to need nearly as many as I actually bought. Now the little blue flame there, if you shoot it or bump into it, it will summon an invincible blue flame thinger there. So if you just leave it alone, you'll have no problems. You don't start none, there won't be none. Money always good. If you stand on any of those non-moving logs for a little while, they will fall down, which is no good. And here is our first mid-boss, a flaming dragon sort of spirit, which I make an absolute dog's breakfast of. I just screw up this fight in every way possible, so you will want to take this as a guide on how not to do it. The best way to do this is to time your jump so that it breathes fire over your head, which makes it easy to avoid. You can also jump away from it like so to avoid getting hit by the low fire breath, which it will breathe out if you're at ground level. And you just have to shoot it in the head. It has a decent amount of health, certainly a lot more than the gentleman in the scale beast. And like many bosses in this game, its palette will change as it takes damage. But yeah, the only thing tricky about this boss, its pattern is very basic, but the timing can be a little tricky because you want to get your shots in, but if you don't get away fast enough, as you can see, you will be tagged by the end of the fire plume. And for some reason, I decided to take that route. We'll top ourselves up with a nice peeking duck. And yeah, it really doesn't work out too well for me. I miss the jump because I do it too late very often. And a few times I try and bait out the high-level fire breath, but I can't seem to get the timing right for that either, so yeah, I just get fucked up a lot in this battle. It's really kind of embarrassing because back in the day when I played a lot more of this, I could pretty readily beat this boss without taking a hit, and this is about as far from that as you can get. Oh well. I do like the boss music quite a bit in this game. There you see, when you die you get mummified for some reason. But you do respawn exactly where you died, so at least there's no checkpointing per life. If you do run out of lives and have to continue, then you will get kicked back to the beginning of the level, so that is how the checkpointing works. I'm really not thrilled with having lost a life quite this early, but oh, what can you do? This one seems to pull a little hard on the beam tether there, but if you kind of pulse the button, just tap it rather than holding it down, you can gradually pull him back toward the trap, which is good because I need the life restoration. Now, if memory serves, the bottom of the Woody House has our second middle ghost, so I'll be working my way down. Thanks, Spud. Now we will be dropping down here, and if you hug the left wall, there's a safe there, which I completely forgot about. Oh well. The timing and spacing here is a little tricky. These walls of fire just rise and fall at a set rhythm, but it's still a tricky jump to make even when they're down, so as you can see, I get my ass burned a bit. Fortunately, we can hit these bat things on the diagonal if we stand close to the flames. And some of those flaming sconces will fall and burn up the floor when you get close, so just something to be careful of. And before the lights go out entirely, when your infrared scope is starting to run out of juice, the area that's visible to you will just decrease a little bit so you get a warning. Just so I always operate with full visibility, I cancel out my infrared scope and then put on a new one every time that starts to appear. That's a one-way door there that you can use as a shortcut back to the entrance of the level, but we don't want that now because, of course, then we'd have to go all the way around again. Some of these firewalls here are the standard rhythmic pulse types, while others generate toasty chews. I thought this one might go back up again, but apparently they don't do that. I did do a practice run of this, but I do not know the game back and forth the way I used to. Alright, I'm going into this with less health than I would like, but it is an easier boss than the dragon. You do have to watch your spacing a bit, but it's just this acrobatic fire spirit here. He just vaults into the air, either high or low, and shoots out a six-way shot. You do have to hit him in the head, but you can stand pretty close to him and just shoot diagonally. Don't really need to worry about jumping shots. And if you're careful about your spacing, then you can do it just right so that you don't get tagged with the somersault. I screw it up a few times, but not too badly. Yeah, one of the things that got me excited for this game was screenshots of the various bosses. There are a lot of them, and the monster designs I thought were kind of cool for this game. A lot of them look a little pedestrian today, of course, but in 1990 they were pretty spiffy. Maybe I'll try and record this at 60 FPS next time so the beams will show up right. In the meantime, pardon our dust. 2 in the box, ready to go. We be fast and they be slow. Alright then. We have defeated both of our middle ghosts, so we can move on to the boss now. It wouldn't be a terrible idea to go fill up on Chinese at this point, but the boss of this level is actually really easy. So I decided not to worry about it and save my money, and it works out pretty decent for me. We'll do our best, sir. And there you see the way we get paid for our mid-bosses whenever we exit the level. Oh, I'm sorry. Correction, I did pick up the Peking duck, but I decided to skip on the gyoza. If you're looking for the ability to return to life, pot stickers the pride of China should be eaten. As not aware of pot stickers' ability to bring back the dead, but they are tasty. Alright then, we do lose our current infrared scope when we exit the level, but as I mentioned, we have a lot more than we'll need. So no big deal. Yeah, I did skip out on the gyoza because, again, the boss of this level is really very easy, and as it turns out, I get a decent life restoration from the spud on my way through anyway, so hey. Once again, we will need to go across the upper reaches of the house and down and around to the left in order to get to the boss's room. But that's not too difficult. Pardon my map checking. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you're certainly familiar with my navigational abilities, or lack thereof, by now. No doubt on some of the later and more complicated levels there will be your recommended daily dose of Lost on, but I'll try to keep it to a minimum. Alright. This time I remembered the safe, and there was in fact money in it, so yay for that. The log platforms here, if you stand on them for a moment, they burst into flames and fall into the fire below, so again, just a hazard to be aware of. I believe we are almost there. Yes, this is the door. Lucky you got here. I never thought you would get this far. But this is the end of you. I'll burn you to a crisp. Yeah, not gonna happen. The flaming face here shows up in the left or right walls, either upside down or right side up, and it has two attacks. It will spit out one of those oily looking slimes that will just creep across the floor, or alternately it has a three-way shot that will be vaguely fired in your direction. Not too hard to avoid despite my failure there. And depending on your angle and proximity, you can use either jumping shots to pop it in the mouth, or just use your diagonals from closer range. Generally speaking, standing a little further away and using the jumping shots is a little safer, but you can get more hits in during each cycle if you use the diagonal. I think this is probably the easiest of the end-of-level bosses. Well, the scale guy's probably a little easier, but not by much. Well, this is one of the trickier actual levels because of all the fire hazards. Yeah, the end of it, pretty much a cakewalk. There is a fire pit in the middle of the room. If you fall down in there, you will see it is filled with flames, but not too hard to avoid. This boss does have a lot more health than the scale critter from Home Sweet Home, so it takes a while to kill, but yeah, you're just really never in all that much danger, so your standard health bar should be more than adequate to the job. I'm really not even sure why they bothered giving him that little ground roving slime attack, because you really have to be napping to get hit by that one. The second attack, they probably should have given him something a little bit more threatening. But from the practical perspective of someone trying to survive the game, I suppose that's no bad thing. And our busting technology seems to be cooling him down a bit. We're getting a nice blue palette now, and it will not be much longer. As you can see, the left platform is a little longer than the right one, so that does affect your shot spacing. I wonder if the game expects you to have a different weapon at this point, because this really is taking a good while. But really, it's easy if slow to beat this guy with the standard shot, and I typically haven't picked up the phaser shot at this point, so it is what it is. Are we there yet? Ah, when he comes out looking like this, he's gonna crumble, and you are done. Now, if you have a little extra health and the right timing, you can catch the stone tablet piece when it flies out. Jump to your right. And celebrate in the flames. Race hardcore. Thank you very much. This is to show my appreciation. I don't know, I would say it's to pay your bill, but 6 of one, half dozen of another. At last, the second stone piece is in our hands. I'm going to stay glued to this stone tablet. If we can crack the tablet's message, I think the riddle can be solved. But it'll be impossible if all the pieces of the tablet are not in place. That's right. And the day of the earthquake was the day when the energy of the ghosts was concentrated in the city. The energy level is increasing every day. That's a big Twinkie. No wonder the ghosts are starting to play rough. Now we've got enough money for our 2 MVP items. We've got a bunch of leftover infrared scopes that sadly we cannot sell back. We will never need those again. But more importantly, we can afford our key offensive item. And we can afford our key defensive item. With a little money left over to increase our energy maximum. As you can see, when you buy one, the price doubles. But we now have plenty of energy to power our new stuff. I can't help but be tickled about Egon talking about being glued to the stone tablet, because it reminds me of an episode of the real Ghostbusters in which they discovered some kind of ancient Sumerian record, and the others asked if he could read it, and Egon answered, in my sleep, underwater and with the lights out. Of course I can read Sumerian. The real Ghostbusters was good stuff. It had its shitty episodes, of course, but I think it was one of the wittier and better written staples of Saturday morning, which is probably because a number of the episodes were written by J. Michael Straczynski, probably best known for Babylon 5, and with extensive TV and comics writing credits to his name. Anywho, that's going to be enough for today. I hope you've enjoyed Ghostbusters for the Genesis so far. Next time, we will continue on to the apartment and the high-rise. And I look forward to seeing you then. Chiptune Ray Parker Jr., play us out. As always, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to such patrons as Justin Carpenter, Nolden, Zangamarth, Charlie Dunst, Anonymous Benefactor, John Madigan, Johnny Millennium, Sanguine Games, Joseph Coco, Misha Van Doren, Craig Patterson, Frank Grizzy, Tim J., Lolo de Puzzlo, and Joshua C. Ritchie. Since Double Dragon, I've got a few new patrons, so I would just like to mention again that I will be adding you to the list on the next cycle, when the next month begins. Don't worry, I haven't forgot about you. Thank you very much, and thanks to all other supporters, watchers, commenters, just everyone coming along for the ride. Very glad to have you, and I hope to see you next time. Till then, this is and take care.